Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're ready for another deep dive today. And this time,
Sounds good.
we are looking at food prices in Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
We found this article from vanguardminist.com, and the title is really something.
Okay.
180 days after Agric minister's promise, Nigerians see no drop in food prices.
Yeah,
Oh, so.
that's a big one. And,
Yeah.
food prices are something that hits everybody's wallet,
Yeah, for sure.
especially in a place like Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that people really think about and worry about a lot. So
Yeah, absolutely.
good we're talking about it.
Yeah, so this article is basically saying that the Agric minister made this promise 180 days ago
Uh-huh.
that food prices would go down, and they haven't.
Yeah.
And the article doesn't really say why that is.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say exactly what happened in this particular instance,
Yeah.
but I do know that there is a history of this type of thing happening in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Back in 2017, there was a huge spike in food prices.
Right.
And it was because of like a really bad drought. Plus, the currency was devalued at the same time.
Wow.
So it was just
What bad combo.
really bad combo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the government at the time, they started a bunch of programs. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't.
Yep.
Some were about boosting like local production of food.
Yeah.
And some were about like, controlling how much food was being imported.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it took a while to like get things back to normal.
Right. So it seems like this isn't a totally new problem.
Exactly.
But this article doesn't really get into
Yeah.
the specifics of why this promise hasn't been kept. What do you think are some of the reasons why?
Well, there are a lot of different things that could be happening. One thing that comes to mind is like global inflation.
Oh, yeah.
Nigeria brings in a lot of its food from other countries. So if prices are going up all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to affect Nigeria too.
Right.
But then you also have to think about things that are going on inside Nigeria, like how much it costs to move food around the country.
Yeah.
Nigeria's infrastructure isn't fully developed yet, so it can be really expensive to get things from, the farms to the cities where people actually buy and eat the food.
Right. And I imagine that those costs get passed along to the
Those
shoppers.
big
So it's like a
costs.
combination of global issues and also local issues.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that,
Yeah.
there are the things that the government
Mhm.
does, right? Like I know they try to control prices or maybe try to help farmers,
Right.
but sometimes that maybe backfires a little bit.
It can, yeah. It can. For example, they have these subsidies on fertilizer,
Hmm.
which are meant to make it easier for farmers. But, sometimes those subsidies don't actually end up making food cheaper for the people who are buying it.
Oh, wow.
It's a difficult thing to manage.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of import restrictions. So the government sometimes tries to limit how much food is coming in from other countries to protect the farmers in Nigeria.
But that can also make prices go up,
Oh, interesting.
at least in the short term.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like walking a tightrope.
That's a lot for the average person, too. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
just trying to go to the store and get food for your family, you don't always think about all these things.
Not really, no.
Do you think this article is trying to, I don't know, maybe tell us something without really saying it directly?
Well, maybe it's trying to point out that there's a difference between what politicians promise
Hmm.
and what actually happens in the economy.
Uh-huh.
I think it's asking for more honesty. If food prices haven't gone down,
Yeah.
then somebody needs to explain why,
Mhm.
what went wrong,
Right.
were the promises just not realistic in the first place. We need those answers
Right.
to figure out how to make things better.
And those answers could lead to better solutions.
So if our listener is hearing all of this, and they're maybe familiar with food prices, but they haven't really thought about all the causes, what do you think is like the big thing they should take away from this?
I think the main takeaway is that food prices are really complicated.
Yeah.
There's no simple answer. You have to consider all these global trends, what the government's doing, even things like the weather. So when somebody promises that prices are going to go down, you have to dig a little deeper and ask yourself, well, what could actually make that happen? Or what could prevent it from happening?
That's a really good point. And I think no matter where we are in the world, it's always a good reminder that the food we eat comes from this really complex system.
It really does.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us on this deep dive. I hope it's giving you all some food for thought.
I hope so.